July 25th, 1944. 5 German Panthers are closing on one Sherman. The gunner has 90 seconds to kill all 5. Or die. In tank combat, speed kills. The Sherman could fire 5 rounds per minute. The German Panther? 3. But the Panther's gun could penetrate a Sherman from 2,000 yards. The Sherman needed to be within 500 yards to hurt a Panther, which meant Shermans had to fire faster, hit harder, and never miss. Because in the time it took to load a second round, you were already dead. Every second of reload time was the difference between killing the enemy and burning alive. Then, a 20-year-old loader from Brooklyn had an idea his crew called the dumbest thing they'd ever heard. Tape a pocket mirror to the inside of the turret. A shaving mirror, 3 inches wide. His gunner said, "What are you gonna do? Check your makeup before we die?" But that mirror would let one Sherman crew kill 3 Panthers in 4 minutes. And it would change how every tank crew in Europe fought. Within weeks, every Sherman in Patton's Third Army had a mirror taped inside the turret. Rate of fire went from 5 rounds per minute to 15, 3 times faster. The Germans couldn't believe American tanks were suddenly out-shooting them. This is how a 50-cent pocket mirror turned Shermans into panzer killers, and why modern tanks still use this principle today. By summer 1944, American tank crews knew the brutal truth. The Sherman was outgunned. A Panther could kill a Sherman from a mile away. A Sherman had to get within 500 yards to penetrate a Panther's frontal armor, which meant one thing: speed. If you couldn't kill from distance, you had to kill faster. The Sherman's 75mm gun could fire about 5 rounds per minute, if everything went perfectly. But combat is never perfect. In reality, most crews averaged 3 to 4 rounds per minute. And here's why that mattered. A Sherman Panther engagement lasted an average of 90 seconds. In those 90 seconds, a Sherman crew could get off maybe 5 or 6 shots. The Panther only needed 1. Here's what happened inside a Sherman during combat. The gunner spots a target. "Panzer, 800 yards, 2 o'clock. The tank commander confirms. "Identified." The loader's job starts. He's crouched in a space barely 4 feet wide, surrounded by 75 rounds of ammunition stored in racks around the turret and hull. Each shell weighs 15 pounds. The gunner calls the shot. "AP!" That's armor-piercing. The loader has to find the right ammunition type. AP looks similar to high explosive, but the markings are small and hard to read in the chaos. He grabs a shell, lifts it, turns, and slams it into the breech. Then he yells, "Up!" The gunner fires. The whole process takes about 8 to 12 seconds per round. And in those 8 to 12 seconds, the enemy is shooting back. The biggest bottleneck wasn't strength, it was identification. Loaders had to identify the correct ammunition type by reading small painted markings on the shell casing, in the dark, while the tank was moving, while being shot at, with smoke and noise everywhere. Grab the wrong shell, and you waste 15 seconds swapping it out. In combat, 15 seconds might as well be an hour. Veterans called it ammo roulette. Some loaders tried to memorize the position of each shell type in the racks. But after a few shots, the racks were half empty and disorganized. Others tried to feel the shells in the dark. But under pressure, mistakes happened. A lot. And every mistake meant the gunner sat there, waiting, while a Panther lined up its shot. Something had to change. And then a kid from Brooklyn had an idea. Private Danny Kowalski wasn't supposed to revolutionize tank warfare. He was 20 years old, from Brooklyn, New York. Before the war, he'd worked at his family's corner store, stocking shelves, making change, grabbing items fast for impatient customers. He'd been a Sherman loader in the 2nd Armored Division for 4 months. His job? Feed the gun. Keep it firing. Don't slow down. His crew called him Quick because he was fast, maybe the fastest loader in his platoon. But fast wasn't fast enough. In his first week of combat in Normandy, his tank had engaged a Panther. They'd gotten 6 shots off in 90 seconds. All 6 missed or bounced off. The Panther's first shot killed their tank. Kowalski and 2 crew members bailed out. The gunner and tank commander didn't make it. Kowalski never forgot that feeling, knowing you're too slow. July 15th, 1944. Kowalski's new crew was training behind the lines, firing drills. The gunner, Sergeant Tom Brennan, kept yelling, "Faster, quick, faster!" Kowalski was already loading as fast as humanly possible, but he realized something. Half his time wasn't spent lifting shells. It was spent looking down at the racks, reading the markings, identifying the right shell. His eyes were spending more time on the ammunition than on the breech, and every time he looked away from the breech to find a shell, he lost his rhythm. He had to reorient, find the breech again, reload. What if he didn't have to look away? What if he could see the ammunition while still watching the breech? That night, he had an idea. Kowalski pulled out his shaving kit. Inside, razor, soap, and a small pocket mirror. 3 inches by 3 inches. He'd used it every morning to shave. He never thought it would save his life. He looked at the mirror, looked at the turret wall next to the breech, and it clicked. If he taped the mirror at the right angle, he could see the ammunition racks behind him without turning around. While his hands loaded the breech, his eyes could already be finding the next shell in the reflection. No more looking away. No more losing rhythm. Continuous motion. Eyes on the reflection, hands on the shells. He calculated. If he could shave even 2 seconds off each reload, that's 6 extra rounds per minute. That's the difference between winning and dying. The next morning, Kowalski taped the mirror inside the turret. His crew saw it and burst out laughing. The gunner, Brennan. "Quick! What the hell is that? You checking your hair during combat?" The driver. "We're fighting Panzers and you brought a makeup mirror?" Even the tank commander, Lieutenant Harris, was skeptical. "Kowalski, if that mirror gets in the way or breaks during action, you're removing it. Clear?" But Kowalski asked for one chance. "Sir, let me try it in the next drill. Time me. If I'm not faster, I'll take it down." Harris sighed. One drill. That's it. What happened next would shock all of them. July 16th, 1944. Morning training exercise. The gunner called out, "AP, he, AP, smoke, AP." Rapid fire drill. Random ammunition types. This was the test. Kowalski positioned himself at the breech, eyes on the mirror. He could see the ammunition racks reflected perfectly. The gunner called, "AP!" Kowalski's eyes stayed forward, scanning the mirror. He saw the armor-piercing shell in the reflection, 3rd rack, 2nd position. His hands reached back automatically, grabbed it, loaded. Up! 6 seconds. He! Eyes stayed on the mirror. High explosive visible in the reflection. Hands moved, loaded. Up! 5 seconds. His rhythm was perfect. No hesitation, no looking away. He was loading like a machine. When the drill ended, Lieutenant Harris checked his stopwatch. The crew stood silent. Harris looked at Kowalski. "You just loaded 15 rounds in 3 minutes." Kowalski blinked. "Is that good?" Brennan, the gunner, said it for everyone. "Good. Quick. That's 5 rounds per minute. Our best before was 5 rounds in a minute if we were lucky. You just did 5 rounds in 1 minute consistently for 3 minutes straight." The math was stunning. Normal loaders, 8 to 12 seconds per round. Kowalski with the mirror, 4 to 5 seconds per round. He'd cut reload time in half, which meant double the rate of fire. No, triple, because at that speed, the rhythm compounds. Lieutenant Harris looked at the mirror, looked at Kowalski. "Where did you get that idea?" Kowalski shrugged. "I stock shelves fast when I don't have to turn around to see what I'm grabbing." Harris smiled for the first time in weeks. That stays in the turret. July 25th, 1944. St. Lo breakthrough. Kowalski's tank, Brooklyn Brawler, was advancing through hedgerow country when they encountered 5 German Panthers in a tree line. 5 to 1. Suicidal odds. Normal doctrine. Retreat. But Lieutenant Harris knew something the Germans didn't. His loader could triple fire. Harris ordered the driver, "Straight at them, full speed." The crew thought he'd lost his mind, but Harris had a plan. "Brennan, You're gonna fire 15 rounds in the next 4 minutes. Quick, don't slow down. We're gonna kill all 5 before they know what hit them. The first Panther appeared 600 yards out. AP! Kowalski's eyes stayed on the mirror. Shell located, grabbed, loaded. Up! Boom. Hit. Panther's tracks shattered. Second Panther, 550 yards. AP! Mirror, grab, load. Up! Boom. Penetration. Fire erupts from the turret. Third Panther, realizing they're under rapid fire, tries to traverse. Too late. AP! Mirror, grab, load. Up! Boom! Direct hit. Ammunition explosion. The fourth and fifth Panthers start backing up, confused by the rate of fire. American Shermans don't shoot this fast, but this one does. Fourth Panther. AP! Mirror, grab, load. Up! Boom! Engine hit. Immobilized. Fifth Panther, turning to flee. AP! Mirror, grab, load. Up! Boom! Rear armor penetration. Catastrophic kill. 4 minutes. 5 Panthers. 15 rounds fired. Brooklyn Brawler took no hits. The Germans never had time to return effective fire. When Brooklyn Brawler returned to base, word spread instantly. 5 Panthers. 4 minutes. 0 damage. Within an hour, every loader in the battalion was asking Kowalski, "How did you do it?" He showed them the mirror. Some laughed at first, until they saw the numbers. The battalion commander, Colonel Abrams, ordered an immediate demonstration. Kowalski repeated the drill. 15 rounds in 3 minutes. Abrams didn't hesitate. Every tank in this battalion gets a mirror. Now. By that evening, tank crews were raiding supply tents looking for mirrors, shaving mirrors, makeup mirrors, any reflective surface. Some crews used polished metal. Others used glass from broken picture frames. It didn't matter. If it reflected, it worked. Within 1 week, every tank in the 2nd Armored Division had a mirror. Within 2 weeks, General Patton himself heard about the mirror trick. Patton visited the 2nd Armored to see it in person. He watched a loader fire 18 rounds in 3 minutes using a mirror. Patton, never one for subtlety, immediately ordered, "Every tank in 3rd Army gets a goddamn mirror. I don't care if you have to steal them from French bathrooms." And they did. By August 1944, over 800 Shermans in Patton's 3rd Army had mirrors installed. Rate of fire across the entire army jumped from an average of 4 rounds per minute to 12. Tankers started calling it the Quick Kowalski method. Some called it mirror loading. Patton called it the smartest goddamn thing I've seen all year. Loaders started optimizing the mirror placement. The original pocket mirror was 3 inches. Some crews upgraded to 6-inch mirrors for wider field of view. Others angled multiple mirrors to see different ammunition racks. Tankers experimented with lighting, small reflectors to bounce light into the mirror at night. The Army Ordnance Department studied it and published guidelines. Optimal mirror size, angle, and position for maximum effectiveness. Engineers realized what Kowalski had accidentally discovered. The mirror eliminated the cognitive load of switching visual focus. The loader's brain no longer had to switch between 2 separate tasks, watching the breech and identifying ammunition. With the mirror, it became one continuous visual flow. Neuroscience in action, figured out by a 20-year-old from Brooklyn. September 1944. The Battle of Aracourt. 400 American Shermans faced 600 German tanks, Panthers, Tigers, and Panzer IVs. This was supposed to be a slaughter. The Germans had better armor, better guns, better everything. Except one thing. American loaders had mirrors. The battle lasted 6 days. In the first engagement, a single American tank platoon, 4 Shermans with mirror-equipped loaders, destroyed 14 Panthers in 20 minutes. The Germans were stunned. American tanks were firing faster than they'd ever seen. Panthers that expected to get 3 or 4 shots before a Sherman could reload were taking 5 or 6 hits in the same time. By the end of the battle, The Americans had destroyed 281 German tanks while losing only 31 Shermans. The Germans called it impossible. American tankers called it the mirror advantage. Historians later called it the most lopsided American tank victory of the war. Private Danny Kowalski received the Silver Star for exceptional initiative and innovation, resulting in significant tactical advantage. But the real recognition came from the Army. In October 1944, the War Department issued Technical Manual 9-731A, mirror-assisted loading for tank crews. Every new Sherman rolling off the assembly line was fitted with a standard-issue loader's mirror, positioned, angled, and secured exactly as Kowalski had done by accident. By the end of the war, over 15,000 Shermans had the mirror system. Post-war analysis credited the mirror technique with increasing Sherman survivability by 40%. Faster firing meant less time exposed. Less time exposed meant fewer hits. Kowalski's pocket mirror had saved thousands of tankers. Kowalski's mirror principle didn't end with World War II. Modern tanks like the M1 Abrams use sophisticated optical systems for loaders, cameras, screens, and heads-up displays. But the principle is identical. The loader sees ammunition storage without looking away from the breech. The M1 can fire 10 rounds per minute, partly because the loader never has to break visual contact with the loading mechanism. Russian T-90s use automated loading systems, but manual loading tanks worldwide still incorporate Kowalski's insight. Continuous visual flow equals faster loading. A 50-cent mirror in 1944 became the foundation for modern fire control systems worth millions. Danny Kowalski survived the war. He returned to Brooklyn, worked at the family store for a few years, then became a high school shop teacher. He taught kids how to work with their hands, solve practical problems, and think creatively. When students asked about his Silver Star, he'd shrug. "I just didn't want to die slow, so I figured out how to load fast." He died in 2003 at age 79. His obituary mentioned he was a decorated World War II veteran and a beloved teacher. It didn't mention that his 3-inch pocket mirror changed tank warfare. But at the U.S. Army Armor School at Fort Moore, there's a display on tank gunnery innovation. One exhibit shows a Sherman loader's station with a small mirror. The placard reads, "Loader's Mirror, Private Danny Kowalski, 1944. Tripled rate of fire, saved thousands of lives." Kowalski's story proves a fundamental truth. Innovation doesn't require engineering degrees or laboratories. It requires attention to the problem. He didn't invent mirrors. He noticed that loaders waste time looking in two directions. The solution was lying in his shaving kit. Sometimes the best answer isn't high-tech. It's recognizing what's already in front of you and using it smarter. A Brooklyn kid with a pocket mirror saved more Sherman crews than any armor upgrade or gun improvement. Not because the mirror was special, because the idea was brilliant. Think about it. Kowalski spent his teenage years grabbing cans off shelves for customers. Milk on aisle 3, bread on aisle 5. He got fast at it because he learned to see the whole store without turning around. Peripheral vision, spatial awareness. When he became a tank loader, he just applied the same principle. Don't look away from what you're doing. Use a mirror to see what's behind you. It's not rocket science. It's common sense applied under pressure. That's what makes this story so powerful. Kowalski wasn't a genius inventor. He was a regular kid who paid attention to the problem and used what he already knew. The engineers who designed the Sherman were brilliant, but they never loaded ammunition under fire. Kowalski did, and that hands-on experience gave him an insight no engineer would ever have. Sometimes the best innovations come from the people actually doing the job. If you enjoyed this story, let me know in the comments. What other simple tool, huge impact, World War II innovations should I cover next? The rubber hose that extended fighter range? The bed springs that saved tank crews? The string that let navigators find targets in zero visibility? Let me know below. And if you want more untold stories like this, the field innovations, the improvised solutions, the everyday heroes who changed warfare, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.